So this next video that I'm talking about is showing a technique that I actually invented. I believe I did anyway. In 1975, I came up with an idea to bring down a tree that was on a hillside. It was in a park. It was at a park called Hakone Gardens in Saratoga. And the manager of the Parks Department, he came out and he says, okay, you cannot break any of these new camellias. They were donated, and this is a memorial garden. There was about 100 new camellias, and they were big camellias, and they spent a fortune on these things. And the tree was above them, and I had the parking lot quite a ways away. And I thought, and I said, well, I wonder if I can roll them down the rope. So I set everything up, I put the rope on there, and about that time, the guy from the Parks Department showed up with another guy from the city, and I made the cut, and it just went perfect all the way down the street. Did another one, went perfect all the way down the street. Did it 3 times in a row, absolutely perfect. Nothing went wrong. The guy waved at me, he says, I can see I'm in good hands, and he left. Next one, sagged down too far, dragged all the way down, almost broke the camellias. We got away with it. 3 or 4 times in a row, we messed up. But I learned a lot of different tricks. One of the things I learned is don't overload your Speedline, because the rope has a lot of sag to it. The guy on the ground has to be able to control it. You know, if you overdo it for him, it'll jerk him over, which puts more sag on it. So think about what you're doing. So this video, I think you're gonna like it. It's this tree up here. I'm gonna bring all that down with the Speedline. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about using a Speedline. Some people call it a zip line, but Speedline seems to be a more appropriate description of what it does. So you set a rope up in a tree, you use a bunch of slings, put a carabiner or a pulley on the rope, and you cut it off and it goes sliding down the rope. Here, I'll show you. These are a couple of small ones here, just getting started. It's a pretty quick and efficient way to get a tree down. And in this particular job, you can see where the chipper is. I'm putting the Speedline all the way down to the chipper. So it does 2 things. It speeds up the removal of the job, and it also positions the brush right behind the chipper. Now, you can't always do this, and you have to be careful what's underneath you. I certainly wouldn't want to do it over a roof or anything too delicate. But Jorge's down there managing the rope, and as you can see, it goes pretty smooth all the way down. I can't say they all go really smooth. You have to think about cutting all your stubs nice and clean, because they will hang up on you. And some of these were just a little bit longer than they probably should have been, and they didn't have quite enough room to go all the way down. So what I'm doing here is I'm using the Insta360 camera. I just kind of set it up on the back of the bucket, which is why you've got somebody videoing me for a change. It's a very, very wide angle lens, so these branches are actually quite a bit bigger than they look. This is the entire tree. It was a live oak tree that we had to remove. There was decay at the base of it, and it was growing right on the fence. Fortunately, I could get the bucket right up to it, which sped things up immensely. Doesn't mean we always use the bucket, but when we have an opportunity to use the bucket, we certainly do. This is kind of interesting. This is a piece of wood here, and you're going to see the rope kind of bends a little bit. So I'm going to undercut it and then bend it up and over and put it in a position where the rope is more direct, and it'll slide all the way down to the chipper. So I made my cut in such a way I didn't want it to just fall off. I wanted to be able to break it off, so I left one tiny little bit of a hinge just enough so that I can muscle it over and then put it in position where it was straight and then let it go. Be careful when you're shooting pieces of wood down the speed line, because wood can accelerate, and the brushy stuff, it goes down quite a bit slower, and the guy on the ground's got some control. He can lower the rope and it falls down. But if you're not careful and you've got a big piece of wood on there, boy, it can rocket down and cause some damage if you're not careful. Now here I'm signaling to Jorge how this cut is going to go. If you pay attention to the climber in the tree and he makes some signals to you, you'll see I show him that I want it to go up and over, and I want him to pull on the rope. He's got it through a pulley, and he should be able to assist me a little bit in getting that rope to go straight. Well, we got a nice sunny day here in California, which is a respite from all the rain and wind and cloudy days we've been going through for the last month or so. California is a great place to live, primarily because of the weather. We have really, really nice weather. And it usually doesn't get unbearably hot. Sometimes it can. I mean, there's days where it gets, I've worked in 110, 115 degree weather, but that's usually just a day here and a day there. I'm actually working in the neighbor's yard. It's the neighbor's tree that these people want to remove. I want you to pay attention to some of the plantings they've got there. I don't know if you saw, but along the house, they've got 10 olive trees, and they've got about 20 palm trees in that center circle. About 10 years from now, that's going to be a real nuisance. So I'm doing a voiceover here. This is one of the higher branches, and it was pretty long. And because of that bend in the rope there, if I'm not mistaken, I think this one hung up pretty good. Let's see. But because I got the bucket, I can go down and fix it easy. Yep, it hung up. The end of the branch caught the top of the wisteria vine, and it just got stuck there. So it wasn't hard. I just went down and hoisted it back up, and then it went down towards the chipper. Now, these next two cuts are kind of tricky because where I positioned the strap is awfully close to where I'm cutting. So I've got to be very, very careful. You can see what I'm doing here. Oh, this one also hung up. There was a little stub about an inch long, and the carabiner went right over the stub, so I had to fuss with that a little bit. It's always a good idea to cut all your stubs off when you're doing stuff like this. I did not. I made a mistake. And I'm man enough to admit it. So we took our lunch, and after lunch, I thought, it'd be really good to get some shots of the Speedline from the perspective of the person on the ground. So I asked Jorge if he'd go up and make those last two cuts. And so he went up there, and I was looking at the way he had everything set up. Jorge had the Speedline tied to the top of the truck, or so I thought. That was what my assumption was. I looked at it from a distance, but I didn't look at it real close. So Jorge made a decision to take both of them at once, and he didn't tell me. He just started working up there. So I'm looking at that thing and, okay, this is way too big. What am I going to do? So I kind of ran over and I tried to put a wrap on the front of the chipper. But what I didn't realize was the pulley that he had situated on top of the truck was attached to a rope that went around to the other side. And the way he was doing it was he was pulling the rope and wrapping it on the other side of the truck to tighten it up. So here's what happened. Look at that. The whole rope went slack because I thought it was attached to the top of the truck. That's a big mistake. I didn't see it. Jorge didn't explain it to me. He went ahead and made a bigger cut than he told me he was going to. It could have been bad. We got lucky on this one, but that was complete and total screw up.
Well, that sucks.
So I went up there and I just chunked it down. I threw pieces of firewood down, and I got all the way down and decided to drop the whole trunk in one piece. And this is my face cut.
I didn't come to an exact point on that side, and it's pinching down on it. That's why it's not going.
So you ever have one of those days where everything just goes wrong? You just keep making mistakes, one after the other after the other. So I had to get back in here, and Jorge's pulling on the rope. We should have been able to pull it over, but it's heavy, and it's leaning back pretty good. So I keep nibbling and nibbling and nibbling, and I actually got down to the point where there was virtually no holding wood. So this trunk is right up against the fence, so I'm making plunge cuts to try to get this done, and I've got bad footing on this hillside. So you ever have one of those days where just everything goes wrong, you just keep making mistakes, and damn it, I know better.
Man.